At the Okoli Law Group, we specialize in producing justice. If you or a loved one in the Atlanta metro area is facing serious criminal charges, then you need serious legal representation.
The Okoli Law Group is here for you. The Okoli Law Group is here for us.
The Okoli Law Group, serious legal representation.
Peace, family. We are live again. Dynasty Mirror Search for Huru. Thank you all. Thank you so much for joining. Do me a favor, hit that like button again. Please hit that like button. Also, make sure you share and make sure you subscribe. I will greatly appreciate it. A couple of announcements. We are rolling. Cannot wait. We are rolling to Namibia and South Africa next month. Again, next month we are rolling to Namibia and South Africa. Looking forward to that. We are going to have a great time in that part of the world. And after that, I have a layover in Angola. And I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to do the long layover or do the short layover, you know, spend a day in Angola or not. But looking forward to that. Shout out to brother Nana who just came on. I'm gonna bring him up here in about 3 or 4 minutes. I'm gonna bring him up. We're gonna jump into today's topic. You know, we're having a discussion yesterday, somewhat speaking on what's going on in Burkina Faso. Talking about that and some of the reaction videos that's you know, being put out there. So I was like, nah, let's just do a show. Let's chop it up in public, you know. So that's what we're talking about today. Do African governments take African Americans seriously? That's today's topic. Also, so we're rolling to. Hold on, my connection's not private. What the hell? Oh no, privacy error. No. Hold on, what's going on? Yeah, I gotta hit up my web guy. Let me present this real quick. Yeah, so let me add this real quick. Guys, give me a second. Gotta message somebody real quick. No, that's not it. That's not it. But we are rolling to next year. Excuse me. We're rolling to Senegal in May for the Jazz Festival. That's May 9th through the 18th. And then we're rolling to Nigeria in August 9th to the 18th for the Oshun Festival. So yeah, that's where we're going next year. And I'm thinking about doing in November of next year, doing a joint Ghana and Sierra Leone trip. So Accra and Freetown. I'm thinking about it. It's not set in stone yet, but I'm thinking about doing that in November. We'll see. I'll keep you guys posted. So yeah, so that's what's going on. Please visit donfo.africa to learn more. I'm gonna bring on our brother Nana. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, there's a little feedback, but you know, we'll work through it.
Oh, there is. I don't know.
Well, no. It's just like a kind of like an echo, but it's not that bad. It'll be fine.
Let's see. It could be the headphones.
Mm-hmm.
As long as I'm clear, though. I don't know. Am I clear?
Yeah,
though?
you good. Yeah, you good. You're clear. So let's
clear.
So let's go ahead and rock with it. But yeah, man, how you doing? It's been a minute.
It's good to see you, Dennis.
Nice to see you too, brother.
Man, you're getting younger, man.
No, listen. It's gonna connect one day. I'm gonna give it to January.
Me Too.
Me
too. I'm trying.
Here, but I'm gonna try to get the fill in here, connect here on both sides. If we don't do it in January, I'm gonna cut this off the goatee.
Africans don't grow hair, you know, so I'm just trying to see my beard gonna come one day.
I don't know. I didn't see Africans with full beards, but
I'm
let me
just
tell you,
playing, man.
everybody. Let me tell you about Nana. So back in I think this might have been 2018. I was headed to Ghana, and I get a message. I don't know if it was on Facebook or where. And brother, like, listen, I love what you're doing, man. Let's link up. Let's talk business. I'm Ghanaian. I'm like, hey, I'm headed to Ghana right now. Actually, I'm like, I'm about to jump on a flight. Like literally the day of, I'm literally about to fly out and head to Accra. I'm like, what part of Ghana are you from? He said, I'm from Kumasi. I'm like, hey, listen, I'm going to Kumasi for Aqua. And like, I don't know. And see, and guys, when I talk about how my engagement and my relationship with Africa is different from a lot of people, and how I say if Africa was that bad, if the people were that bad, my first trip would have been my last. I don't know, Nana. Nana hits me up. He tells me some Kumasi. I said, I'm going to Kumasi. Can I crash at your place? No problem. So I catch the VIP bus from Accra to Kumasi. The bus is delayed. Like it was like that drive should be 4 hours from Accra to Kumasi. It was like 10. I don't get to the bus station like at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. Nana's mom and his brother are at the bus station waiting. And I never met this man. I just asked if I could crash. Listen, mom took care of me, gave me the king bedroom, cooked egg sandwiches every morning, refrigerator full of BB-SAP or Zobolo every
So
morning.
well,
Yeah, every morning. I mean, and again, that's why when people, Africans don't like us, they don't like us. Like, I don't know. I didn't know this man. I just asked, like, hey, I'm going to Kumasi. Can I crash? No problem. Mom and brother were at the bus station in Kumasi waiting for me. And like I said, it should have been like a 3-4 hour drive. It was like 12. We got delayed, just traffic. It was like 12 hours. I'll pull up 3 o'clock in the morning. They waiting for me. That's what I'm talking about. Go ahead, Nana. Introduce yourself.
hey, Dinus. Wow, look at you, man. You always bringing the story up, man. You're gonna have to stop telling it one day.
No, I got to keep telling that story.
Nah, man, we're grateful, man. Hey, man, thank you for bringing me to your platform again. I'm very, very grateful, man. It's been a long time, man. It's good to see you. You know what I'm saying? How's the young man doing, man?
Oh, Max is good, man. He's 11. He's
Man, he a
downstairs.
big man now.
Yeah,
Okay,
he's downstairs. When I said when I get done, we'll go outside and throw the football around.
good, man. Amen. But all praises to Allah. Obviously, man, giving me another opportunity, man, waking up all healthy, everything together. All praises to the ancestors for obviously man, giving us a chance also to reflect on what they done did in the past and what needs to be done moving forward. So yeah, thank you again. I don't know what to, I don't know what to say, man. I was born in Ghana. I moved to Seattle. Um, I, I left my mom. I was about 10 or so, yeah, 10 or 11. I left my mom to go live with my dad in Seattle. I'm about 42 years old right now. So I done spent most of my life in the States. So when you talk about me hitting you up, man, and obviously, man, me appreciating what you've been doing all these years, man, it was more spiritual than physical because um, you have started something that I think it's impossible to have a certain type of relationship with Africa if you don't go in that type of journey. Like you began healing. Healing is everything, and I think, I mean, I realized what you've been doing, and man, I appreciated it. And obviously, man, on your way to Ghana, to my hometown, Kumasi, Akwesi there, I mean, man, that's a big deal. And shout out to the, what you call me, Chief
Mm-hmm.
of Himine, Chief of Himine. He was
For sure.
very instrumental. Yeah, yeah. I think you were able to meet him as
Yeah, yeah.
well.
Yeah,
Um,
he took me around. So yeah.
Yeah, me Chief Abebio. Yeah, me the second.
And I
Yeah.
want to give a shout out to another shout out to AJ Niger, guys. AJ Niger, Nigerian. AJ, you've been on what? Let's see here. You go to Namibia and South Africa with me. So you've been on, let's see here, one, South Sierra Leone twice, Zanzibar, Senegal. This is what the fifth trip, fifth or sixth, AJ Niger? Fifth or sixth? So shout out, I know, like I said, Sierra Leone twice, Zanzibar, Senegal. Now we rode in Namibia and South Africa um next month. Fifth. There we go. Fifth. Yeah, fifth.
That's
So
a big
Nana,
deal.
yeah, so Nana, we were talking yesterday, about what was going on in Burkina Faso. Um in regards to, citizenship now somewhat off the table. And you had sent me a video of someone who was upset and how, the government's a
It's your
scam.
friend. It's your friend.
Yeah, my brother. I love O'Shea. That's my brother. O'Shea from Sacramento. Now he's from Del Paso Heights. He can't help it. He's from Del Paso Heights. He's from the North Side. He can't help it. He's from the Del Paso Heights. He's from the
That's your
DPA.
brother, man. So,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
he's our brother. Okay,
Our
he's our
brother.
brother. He's also my brother. Absolutely.
And you
Yes,
brought up
sir.
a great point. How just like how Black Americans are healing, Africans are healing too. Now, some people will say that's an excuse to justify some of the behavior and complaints that he's bringing up. But what would you say?
Well, first and foremost, if you would allow me, Dinus, I want to give a few disclosure
Take your
out
time.
before
Go ahead.
we kicked it off. Guys, this conversation is very, very important. Okay, but just like everything else which is important, it's not for everyone. Okay, so if you're not in a space of wondering about healing, if you're not in a space of understanding the power of trauma, because I believe in science. So this conversation is not for you if you don't believe in science, if you don't believe in God, if you don't believe in the ancestors, okay, if you don't believe in trauma, and if you don't believe in healing. This conversation is gonna go over your head. Okay, but if you believe in these things, I think you're gonna benefit from this conversation. So I think I sent you that video because I was listening to O'Shea. Um, and obviously he was very, very frustrated. And I understand where he was coming from. And I think he has every right to be frustrated
Mhm.
because every action obviously equals a reaction.
Mhm.
So he done invested his time over there. He wants, he didn't spend a lot of time, resources, understanding the community, obviously looking for a better return, and it's not turning out that way. So he has the right to be frustrated. I think we have to acknowledge that.
Mhm.
Um, I also believe that, like I told you, O'Shea was being a bit naive and ignorant as well, with all due respect to my brother. And the reason why I would say so is because of my own experience. Okay. Having been raised in America all these years, Diners, obviously African Americans raised me, you
Mhm.
know. Um, I don't know, but someday I'll write a book about my life or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? But in a nutshell, obviously having left my mama at 10 years old, there's nothing normal about that.
All right.
You know what I'm saying?
All
That's
right.
already trauma number one. Okay, having witnessed my father and mom get divorced at 6 years old in Ghana, and then having witnessed my daddy leaving Ghana for so-called a better life, knowing that he comes from one of the most privileged and most powerful families in Ghana, but
Mhm.
he couldn't make a better life in Ghana. So he had to leave and go continue his education and get a better life for us. And we had to live with our mother. Okay. Now, you are a father, you know the importance of having a two-parent household. So having lived with my mom, you know, as a young kid, and then having to live with my dad and my stepmom, it was tough, in a whole new environment, whole new culture, whole new system, right? But I grew into it, right? I mean, I had to become a man in an environment where I had no choice. So African Americans raised me. So when folks see me and I and they might make a comment like, "Oh man, he act like he African American." Well, it's not that I act like I'm African American. I came and that was my point of reflection.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They raised me no different from if you dropped an African American kid in Ghana at 8 or 9, 10 years old, you come back and that kid is 40 years old. It's going to be a reflection of that environment.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, long story short, man, I started reconnecting back to Ghana like around 2007.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and my uncle, or my junior father, as we would say in my culture, he was very much responsible for me being able to understand what's going on in Ghana.
Mm-hmm.
But my point is, it took me about a decade, okay, Diners, to feel confident and comfortable to want to start doing business in Ghana.
Mm-hmm.
See, even though my roots is from Ghana,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? It took me about a decade from 2007. I think I didn't really even get involved in my first venture over there to like 2015, 2016 or so, 2016, 2017, because just like I had to understand the environment of the African Americans I grew up with to be able to know how to navigate my way in a much more effective and calculated and rewarding manner.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, how to survive and how to limit my mistakes and how to be able to learn from them and be able to be an asset to them, right? In ways where I'm adding to the community, right? So if you come to Seattle, you know, I have added to the community of Black Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I'm a co-founder of a nonprofit, ADIA, African Descent Youth Affairs. We launched the first ever math and science and cognitive development program specifically for failing kids, specifically for failing kids with a culture and a tradition of the Sankofa integrated into the math and science program. We ran it for 5 years and realized all the politics was too much. Now we're going back to relaunching it again, inshallah, in 2026.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but if you want to know more, you can go to www.adyaeffect.org. But yeah, so I added to the value of growing Black Seattle community. So in trying to do the same thing in Ghana, I had to recognize the fact that I had been away from Ghana, okay, Dynas.
Mm-hmm.
Even though my roots is from there, I'm I had not developed in an environment. Now the question is, what is their environment? And it's interesting that we're talking about Ghana because Ghana is a good case study.
Mm-hmm.
The frustration with O'Shea and everything is very common among a lot of African Americans, among a lot of African diaspora people. Um, because the people that live there have cultured their way into that madness, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you come in from an environment when it's opposite of that, it can be tough. It's like
Right.
moving into the hood in Chicago, O Block, and you never seen nothing like that. You know, it's
Right.
going to be a culture shock. You know what I'm saying? So when you talk about the environment of Africa, it's good to look at Ghana because it's the first sub-Saharan African country to be independent. Okay, 1957.
Hmm.
It's also a good case study because it's probably one of the few countries, with the exception of maybe Mozambique and Ethiopia.
Yes. Now go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. Um, it's a good case study because when you look at Ghana, is one of the few countries, with the exception of maybe Ethiopia, Mozambique, Angola, that specifically integrated the African diaspora within their structural development. In other words, when they were on their way to independence, you know, Liberia and Sierra Leone were a bit of an exceptional situations in terms of they were created. You know what I mean? When you look at Ghana, you have to mention people like Padmore, um, Elder Padmore from Trinidad. You have to mention, oh my goodness, man, some of these names is it's not coming to me right away. Obviously, Dr. Dubios is very, very common. A lot of people know Dr. Dubios and his impact with Nkrumah and everything, with the relationship with Nkrumah. But my point is, when Ghana was being formed, um, I would say the elders who were responsible for fighting for independence had a lot of the whole diaspora integration. They had people from the Caribbean, they had African Americans, they had people from Europe of African descent who very much contributed into the independence struggle. So when you look at Ghana, the early stages of Ghana, you saw Nkrumah really inviting the diaspora Africans to come and play a role in stabilizing and advancing Ghana. But when you fast forward from Nkrumah diners, you realize that obviously there were deliberate attempts, okay, post-colonial Ghana to strip the country away from its true identity.
Hmm.
So when you look at Ghana as a case study, the early stages of Nkrumah and the forming of the country, you realize that they try to go through the healing process by reestablishing that kinship between the African community at home and the diaspora, because that was what was specifically attacked through colonization, through all types of imperialism from external forces in the span of about 1,000 years or so. So when you get Ghana get independence in 1957, you are looking at an environment that has gone through tremendous amount of trauma. Okay, psychological trauma, spiritual trauma, okay, physical trauma, and then you get independence in 1957, and you one of the first on a continent the size of 4 times of United States of America. You see, so if you don't put in the mechanisms to begin to redistribute all the damages, restructure, recalculate, re educate, intentional institutional development based on re-educating, restructuring the masses psychologically, physically, symbolically in ways where it is compatible to the amount of damage that has been done to these people. If those steps are not taken, you are bound to have an environment of confusion and chaos. So that is the social level. The economic level after World War II, irrespective of Ghana gaining independence and making all the effort to be a strong microeconomy, the external forces or the winners of so-called post-World War II had established a global system which did not integrate the African continent. And to make matters worse, the artificial borders, which continue to be a great burden on Africa in regards to wealth development, because our forefathers were merchants. They were great merchants all across the African continent. They traded all across the African continent. They had their own system. So it created wealth on the continent, and the wealth stayed on the continent. My family are prime examples of that. We lost about 90% of our wealth just from transitioning from the traditional way of governance to the so-called post-independence, so-called democratic way of governance, because we had to integrate our land, our resources into the new Ghana, you see. So when you talk about economic trauma, there are many books out there on how Africa has been economically traumatized. So when you have institutions which are the driven or the navigating vehicles of building strong environments, whether through the academic institutions, whether through the so-called civil society institutions, when these institutions are weak, but they are manned or occupied by people with identity crisis, because the academic institutions, which is responsible for re-educating, healing, intentionally recognizing the trauma that has been imposed on these people, instead of correlating shame with trauma. Okay, you understand what I'm saying? It's you are bound to have weak institutions, Dinus. It doesn't change the fact that you have beautiful beaches. Doesn't change the fact that you are still on the continent of Africa. Doesn't change the fact that, hey, you got, a few transactions happening here and there, because you have maybe 40 million people in Ghana, and your supply and demand is based on 90% importation of other people's brands. You know, so when you get to Ghana, that's what you see. You see 90% importation of other people's brands, because they got to meet the supply and demand of everyday people. But that's not a real economy. That is a survival economy. That's not a structural, strong micro indigenous economy that can compete at the macro level. I've always said, I look at Ghana, which happens to be the first country to be independent in Africa. I look at it as an athlete, okay, Dinus, a runner, 100-meter runner who wants to run the Olympic but have never won the national race. You know, you have infrastructure problems, but you claim to have unemployment, and the youth are the highest percentage of the population. But you have infrastructure problems, but you can't find money to hire these youth to be patronized and feel proud to rebuild your nation the way it's meant to be rebuilt, but you still have infrastructure problems. But you are the sixth largest gold producer in the world, but you are the second cocoa producer in the world, but you have oil, but you have arable land. You see? So if two plus two is four, is either the elders of the nation are completely incompetent, or there's something broken within the structural systems of the nation that's very different from what God has given them as wealth, as inheritance, as blessings. See, so O'Shea, a frustration is coming from a broken environment, an environment that have yet to recognize that they have gone through over 600 years of trauma, and you've been free, supposedly free since 1957. And through that process of freedom, the longest peace you have had in a country is from 1992 to present, which they call the Fourth Republic. So, Diners, think about that. Let everything I just said sink in for African Americans who want to go to Ghana and do business. 600 years of imperial trauma. That's how you got the Elmina Castle. Okay. And no intentional structures have been put in place to begin to heal a people that are so blessed that they should be waking up and loving each other. So your frustration comes from an environment where love is missing, because you don't plant corns and eat yams. You see, that's not physics. That's not nature. And God don't make mistakes. Ghana is a very powerful nation. I'm an Ashanti. I'm a royal Ashanti blood. Ain't too many Ashantis that are more Ashanti than me. My grandmother passed away at 105. I think you met her, Dinus.
When did she pass away? It must have been like a couple years ago.
Yeah, yes. She passed away
I met
a
her.
couple of years ago.
In fact,
Okay.
I gotta find a picture. I don't have a picture. I don't think I have a picture with her, but I have a picture of her. I gotta find it.
She is the daughter of the elder brother of the former king of Ashanti, Prempeh the First. See, that is my direct grandmother. Her firstborn is my father. You understand? But my family has so much trauma, and they hide behind academic education
Mm.
because that is the power of trauma. It's like a sinking hole. It's so deep that when you really get into it, you lose your touch with God. So it has become a spiritual situation. So they suffer within their blessings. Okay, Diners? And gold is $4,000 an ounce right now. And Ghana
Yeah,
is the
I saw
sixth
that.
largest.
I think it's 4,200 ounce right now. I might just be 4,000. It's up there. Let me look it up.
Well, let me give you a direct example.
It's 4,300 4,300 $44.
Amazing, amazing,
$4,344.
amazing, amazing. Well, O'Shea and other African Americans who intend to do business in Africa, everything we are talking about, Diners, is the reason why I co-founded Agiment Consulting Services. I think I told you about it. I think you know about it as well. If people want to know more about it, you just have to go to www.agiment, which is obviously my last name, agimentconsultingservices.com, to be able to help people like, oh shit, to be able to help people that have great intentions for the motherland, because it is the motherland. It's the home of Abyssinia. It's the home of Egypt. It's the home, or Kemet is what I should say. It's the home of Kanembonu Empire, which most people don't even talk about. It's the home of the fourth holiest place in Islam, which diners, nobody even talk about that Africans were first Muslims before anybody else became Muslim. The king of Ethiopia received the prophet of Islam, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his companions, his first. I don't even think it was 100 Muslims on earth when he sent them to Ethiopia to go seek refuge. And the Orthodox king of Ethiopia received them and received the message, and they built their first mosque over there and began to spread Islam across Africa. But today, when they talk about Islam in Africa as if it's an alien religion on Africa, I've heard it many, many times. The Arabs, I said, Arabs are, original Arabs are Africans. You just don't have the opportunity to read history because the conquerors, like how we are using your language right now to speak, the lion never gets to tell his side of the story. The hunter is all over the media, all over the internet, all over our faces, and has been shaping the narrative over and over and over and over again.
Hey, Nana, let me we got a caller. Principe, go ahead, unmute yourself. Ash.
Yeah, salute to you, Dinus. Good show again. Interesting topic. Although I kind of disagree with your recent statement that you made regarding Islam, because although it's true we Africans were some of the first converts, the variation in which is practiced in Africa today is the Arabized version, which is I think Postmaster Musa, he brought in these Arab scholars who shift the original Islam that was existed in Africa. But my question to you though is what because to address some of the issues that does exist in Africa and highlight some of the positive, are you connecting with Black American leadership in America to create or foster more consistency and validate your authenticity? Because I feel like some of the issues in where people were fearful of scammers or whatever is because there's a lack of established, consistent go-to person. I feel like if you are able to connect with the different churches that exist here, the different mosques that exist here, the Nation of Islam, the different already established entities that are here to solidify coordination, it will be a more solid, reputable consistency. Because I feel like you kept saying something along the lines of like trauma this and trauma that. Uh, One of the biggest trauma elements is a lack of trust. So, what are you doing to build the trust, utilizing the already established leadership in America? Because you said you are tapped into the community as well, right? So, what are you doing to connect or bridge the gap in terms of leadership and stuff like that?
I want to thank you for your question, my brother. Um, that's a very important question. The question goes both ways. You see, when I speak on African trauma, it's just as reflective as African American trauma. You see, for example, with everything that is going on in America right now, I'm one of those brothers that I'll be honest with you. I didn't feel right at all when I saw that young man, um, what you call him, Charlie Kirk. Um, I seen him get hit like that. Um, because in my lifetime, and me being in America, I've been around so much violence that I think that one right there, I've heard things about the JFKs and the Malcolms and the Martin, but in my lifetime, I ain't never seen a young white man or Caucasian man get hit like that. And that said a lot to me. I said, as a black African in America who was raised by African Americans. And my point is, this nation needs healing. This country, our ancestors, see, I didn't say your ancestors, I said our ancestors, because I'm a part of a whole DNA system that goes back thousands of years and they've been traveling for a long time. So our ancestors have put in a lot of work in this country and we have not been given the opportunity to help heal this nation. And those who have been navigating this nation have a track record of obviously not being able to put it together to bring love and peace within our diverse communities of this nation. So I think it's going to take the African Americans of this country, the Black Americans of this nation, to understand that their genetic is tied to the Most High, much more so than those people who are navigating this nation right now. And when they are able to get the grounding that they need to help this nation establish some healing and some equity. Healing is equity. Healing is love. Healing is peace. Healing is understanding that we fucked up in the past. But you know what? We can acknowledge that and make things right and move on as a nation. When you guys are able to, or when we are able to help these folks establish that over here, what that would do is it would send a message to the Africans on the continent, and they will realize that their brothers and sisters over here are ready to help build the motherland. But as of right now, I can only do so much within my small capacity.
Can I
At
ask you
the
another
larger
question?
level, I'm almost done, please.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I cannot I can only do so much within my small capacity. And that's why I have put my website up there. If you go to adjumentconsultingservices.com, we literally built this company specifically to help our diaspora brothers and sisters be able to navigate the nation of Ghana and other parts of Africa. If you, I'm not going to speak on too much on who I am, but obviously McDyness knows who I am. And if you go through him, it's just as good as going through me. But the reality is we need to start at the micro level. Healing begins at home. African Americans need to get back to Sankofa, give respect to those who laid the way, reflect on their value systems, reflect on their morality systems, reflect on your culture understandings, which means your ancestors had cultural understanding to the greater continent. Don't forget that and don't let that go, because you can check those Africans who are on the continent when you go on the continent and you realize that they don't have their culture stuff together because they want to be like the Europeans. The reality is you have Africans on the continent of Africa, and I'm saying this with a straight seriousness. 90% of Africans on the continent of Africa do not know their history. They might have their tribal information, but they don't know their continental history. That is part of that trauma that keeps us from recognizing and respecting each other and knowing that we have great leverage within 3 point something billion African descent people around the world that can be consolidated through trade and social kinship development that can create a lot of wealth for us and bring peace in the world, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. But may I also ask another question?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I'm one of the believers, personally. That's my personal life. That A- Africans elites should also invest in America to start communities. There's a lot of wealthy elite Africans that makes millions and billions. People in the private sector. You seem like you're very connected to a lot of elite Africans in Ghana and maybe even Cote d'Ivoire. You have a similar Ashanti connection. Uh, 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 do you also share the idea that Africans should also invest in certain communities in America and boost the economy here? That way, it's a two-way streak where both the African is assisting the African American cousin, bridging the gap, creating working jobs, etc., by creating markets, etc., jobs, etc., and then those guys are going back in terms in celebrating festival and vice versa. Do you believe that is a need to be to happen in the sense to re-bridge the gap by Africans also reaching out to African Americans and investing in distorted black communities that also needs African assistance or partnership and investment?
You open up a can of worm, my brother. You're a very intelligent man. Oh, how old are you, young man? If you don't mind me asking.
I'm 31, 31.
Wow, amazing mind. I appreciate your questions. When I was in my master's program in logistics and supply chain, it was around the COVID times, and I wrote a 22-page research paper because we had to find solutions to all the bottleneck issues which was going on. Many of y'all remember folks was out there chasing toilet papers and all kinds of stuff in the stores or whatnot. Um, and on my 22-page paper, the bottom line was if America, if they don't transition the small to medium tier manufacturing companies that they have in Asia to Africa, they will eventually implode the American economy. Now, keep in mind, I was expecting to get an F, but I guess my professor was wise, so he gave me an A plus. And my research went in depth into the historical injustice to African continent and her relationship to the global economy. You see, Africa is the cake, and everybody just want to chip her off without paying for it. So when they get in trouble, they just want to find ways and means to get back to the cake and chip as much as they can to recover. And that's why gold is 4,300 an ounce right now. Right now. So for America to be sustainable, and I'm telling you this, and I'm only saying this on Dynasty's platform because that's my brother, and his audience have been very, very loyal to him. So obviously they deserve good information. African Americans need to buy gold, and nowhere else have more gold than Africa. So however the heck you guys gonna find a way to build a relationship with Africa, you're gonna have to start. Period. Number two, because Africa is the cake, it's common sense that America has small to medium tier manufacturing to the continent of Africa to take advantage of the youngest population in the world and also the Atlantic Ocean. If the Atlantic Ocean was good enough to move a bunch of human beings across the water and come build a whole new nation, it's good enough to move avocados. It's good enough to move shit, coconut water. Coconut oil is good enough to move all kinds of stuff across the water into America to help expand the economy of America. But you see, all this stuff that I'm talking about, it comes down to wealth creation, young man. See, the problem is not expanding the economy to Africa. America can easily do that. The problem is what I'm talking about. These foes who are the oppressors are more traumatized than we are. See, only a person that is traumatized will pick on people who are minding their own business. A bully, I've never known a happy bully. So the question is, how long can they keep it up for? How long? Because maybe I used to not fight back, but now I'm fighting back. And because it's physics, action equals reaction, the tables then change. You don't plant corns and eat yams. So it's America. America has to be comfortable to allow Black America to become wealthy. That is the bottom line. Their trauma is Black America becoming wealthy, you know. And if they don't get over their phobia or their trauma, America can never have cohesive relationship with Africa. I am Ghanaian American. My kids are first generation African Americans. Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, all these people played a role in Black America being Black America today. But not all of them have 400 years of, I don't know, family ties to this country. But it doesn't matter because it's more genetic than anything. We can all relate to each other. So my kids are first generation African Americans. I'm Ghanaian American. And I can't even move things from Ghana into Whole Foods, into Costco, because there's no policy that allows African products to go into American retail stores. I have my own experience. I launched a business magazine. We wanted to sell to Africa. Africa has almost 2 billion people, but we wanted to take advantage of the quality printing in America and be able to sell to our people in America as well, in the Caribbean. We couldn't find a merchant company that would approve payment systems to come from Africa. They wouldn't allow the Visa and MasterCard that these Africans have in Africa to buy our magazine from here. You can't sit in Ghana and order from Amazon. That's not by accident. So they have to get off that phobia of Black America being wealthy, Africans being wealthy. We are not a violent people. You pushed us into violence. We are a people of values, culture, and community. You envy us, so you came to take what we have and you don't know what to do with it. So when they get over that situation, we can go back to working with each other, and you will see a lot of investments from Africa in Black American communities. I don't know why we don't have Black American grocery stores with African products. It's healthier. Eventually it's going to have to go that way because when China and when USA start going crazy on the Pacific Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean is going to be the only opportunity left. And if Black America doesn't have a strong relationship with USA in terms of equity distribution, you can't come and negotiate with Ibrahim Traore. And that's why he's not giving out no citizenships. There is no trust in African Americans because they are not fighting the fight right now. They're not fighting to help heal this nation. These white folks cannot do it. You guys have to fight to help heal this nation so this nation can have a better relationship with Africa.
So,
Otherwise,
so Nana, real quick, sorry to cut you off. So, do African governments take African Americans seriously? Okay, go ahead.
I just answered that. They don't take you guys seriously because African Americans are not building peace and structure in America. They're not being given the opportunity to help create equity in this country. You can think of the richest Black American and most likely owned by another Caucasian. but that Caucasian is abusing African raw materials. So how does this African American come to the African government and have a conversation with them about saving the African land?
Mm. Are you saying that they don't have an agenda in present day? Like they don't like you was talking about Ghana independence. There were like African American leaders from different organizations there. Like a lot of current movements today is not
I'm
very
talking about, okay, listen, I'm talking about the global system.
okay.
America is the navigator of the global system, exception of China, Russia, and maybe Iran and a few other countries. But the Western system is navigated by America. America has almost 70 million African Americans who have yet to receive the greatest labor injustice in the history of America.
Yeah, but well, one of the major figures in present day is Akeem Jeffrey. He's African American. You
But
know,
I'm
so are you talking about
saying,
organization and an objective and agenda? I'm not understanding what you're saying.
okay, all right, I'm saying America, as a navigator of the global system, has cut Africa from the global system of equity development. So Africa doesn't have access to strong technology. It doesn't have access to equity credit lines. It's always being abused when it goes for credit. It doesn't
Hmm.
have access to the ability to get manufacturing, which comes through technology. They won't give us this. It's intentional.
Yeah,
I'm
but one of the biggest defenders of the AGOA agreement is African American people in the Black Caucus.
AGOA is no longer active, my brother. AGOA
Yeah,
is cut.
understood, but I'm saying you trying to, but the people who defend it the most is African Americans.
But I'm trying to tell you that is not relevant when it comes to wealth development. How you develop wealth is by looking at Ghana as the second largest cocoa producer in the world. African Americans coming into Ghana, creating chocolate brands, coming back over here, creating retail centers and selling chocolate to these so-called retail companies who have many, many different chains all over the place. That's how you create wealth. Africans have been cut out of the ability to export their products into the global consuming markets. And then on top of that, you have imperialists impacting the ability for the Africans themselves to engage each other. So the African Continental Free Trade, which has been ratified for the last 4 years or so, is probably the newest policy in helping the Africans come together. But look at all the years that have gone by without being able to move anything from Ethiopia to Ghana, without being able to move anything from Rwanda to South Africa, all these artificial boundaries, without being able to get the right credit lines to invest in infrastructure to travel smoothly from so-called Ghana to even Nigeria. But they bombed the hell out of Germany and they rebuilt the hell out of it in just 20 years. You
But but
see,
but but you don't think that if African elites and leaders that have money that some of them are thrown away on planes and
you
BS,
using
if
the
they
wrong
came in,
terms. You
yeah, but
using
hold
the
on,
wrong terms.
I'm
You
sorry.
see, if you're talking to me and you're using terms like elite, it's the wrong term to
But they
justify
exist. They
your
exist though.
point.
So what do you
Okay,
call them? What do you call them?
okay. You see, when you say elite, what does it mean?
The wealthy class, the esteemed families, those guys who have uh, pull and influence in those societies. Every my country, Haiti, they have elites, black elites,
Okay,
mixed race
all
elites,
right,
Arab elites.
okay. In the Ashanti culture,
Yeah.
in the Ashanti language, they will say some things like this. And a lot of our healing is within the language also. And unfortunately, a lot of African diasporas are not humble enough to learn African languages because of the pride embedded within trauma. We correlate shame with trauma, so we don't understand that language is synonymous with wisdom. And you have to understand that a lot of codes is in within the language. So for example, within the Ashanti language, they will say some things like this. Ifibia mensanwum, it means in every household there's a sabotager. It doesn't mean this person is not your blood. It doesn't mean this person is not your brother. It just means that his spirit is not meant in sustaining the family. So you do not put somebody like that to lead the family wealth. Do you understand? So this person can come from all the so-called wealth or the so-called elite families all you want, but you got to understand his spirit is not with his people. So when you say elite, you should be really identifying them as just Africans who are no longer with their continent. You have Africans on the continent who are there to just rape their mother. You see, it's about evil and good, irrespective of your skin color. You have those people within us who don't mean well for the nation. An example, I told you, it's about trauma. You have people who benefit from trauma. You have people who maximize wealth from trauma. So they are literally maximizing on the ignorance of people who have gone through so much trauma and have not embraced the mechanisms to heal. You see, so the elite that you are calling, you have the good and the bad. And in Africa, the bad has great support from other elites who want to continue raping the continent. And as long as the people continue to be in a state of trauma because there are no vehicles to help them heal, they can continue to sustain this exploitation process which has been happening. So when you talk about elite, I'm confused because in my family you have people who contribute in literally destroying Ghana, but
Yeah,
they are a part of the family. So I
yeah, but
mean,
Hey, guy,
but
let me pass the mic to Ola. He's been waiting. Go ahead, Ola.
hola.
Ola, meet yourself.
Hey, thank you, Dennis. I've been listening to the brother speaking, and I've been hearing the other dude, speaking too. Brother, you know, African government taking the Black Americans seriously is African government have no connection in terms of businesses and everything. Not too long ago, might be social gathering with them. Majority Black Americans never fed Africans emotionally, psychologically. They're not connected to the continent or to the sub-Saharan zone or West Africa. So you cannot force something, or the government cannot force anything when the people you're dealing with are not feeling African. You have to understand 400 years with those that they took off that left, they left long time, almost 500 years. So we being the same is not really there. They can be the same skin color, but we're not feeling ourselves as the same. Africa is far different from Black Americans in terms whatever it is. They think in everything. They are
I would
made
disagree
popular.
with you.
Let me land,
I
brother.
will I would
I got.
disagree, but yeah, I'll let
Let
you
me
land.
land,
Yeah,
brother.
go ahead.
Yeah. What our commonality with Black Americans, apart from just for the skin color alone, is it a value system? Is it the cultural, or is it the norms about just general life? And the government, let me add just 1 second to land. Black Americans are not on their own country. They are under an umbrella. They are citizens of United States. So those who are in power, that's who the African government are dealing with. It can be like Barack Obama who came to power, or it can be white man. Thank you, bro. I'd like to hear from you, brother.
We have a lot of things in common with African Americans. We have way too much in common with them. You know, for example, man, my wife is from East Africa. When you see East Africa is very, very diverse. When you come to West Africa is very, very diverse. But when my wife came to West Africa or Ghana, she saw so many similarities with her culture type in East Africa. But we all have our distinctions as well. African Americans are black people who have their own distinctions, but we have a lot of similarities as well. Otherwise, we would not have a point of reflective from them. Otherwise, how would we be influenced by them? Why would we listen to the same music as them? How come we can enjoy their food? You know, how come when we see each other, we nod at each other and it could be a whole different country and we could be the only two black folks because it's more spiritual than physical. But anyways, um, I want to come back to the economic side because a lot of folks believe that Africa is the future, and I believe that too. And I believe that African Americans who have had the opportunity to go through the most advanced capitalist system in the world and to have seen the good and the bad can really contribute in helping Africa shape and design a model of a system economically that can be able to compete at the global level because the Africans are lacking the Africans are lacking global competitive nature. You can't point one indigenous black African company that is competing at the global level. If you know one, please man put it in the chat. I would love to know. Um, it's
Then Goatee,
important. This is
then
how you
Goatee just he just sold I believe oil or gas to New York City recently. So my question
okay.
before you got sidetracked by the elite statement is if these elites or let's just say those who are concerned who have that have money in Africa was to invest in affordable housing markets stuff like that in America, it will help bridge the gap and it'll be vice versa. I don't like Tariq Nasheed like that, but one of the things I do agree with him is the reciprocal effect element is not fully felt from the elites of Africa in America. There's a lot of wealthy black people in Africa that can invest in these communities and help revitalize certain communities in Baltimore and in Philadelphia and in Mississippi and Alabama, and they're not doing that. And I feel like even when you talk about the chocolate thing, they can also invest and import those things to America and sell it here. They can import, the Kentucky vehicle, right? That's from Ghana and other things that exist in Africa and sell it within the black community and think of it differently, but maybe even assemble it here. But you know what I mean? Sometimes you got to think outside the box, but create the wealth and the impact that makes it more reciprocal. That way people go back and forth. You know what I mean? Some people talks about scamming or whatever. That exists even in America, so that's not a far-fetched thing. But what is being done to bridge the gap to minimize or to destroy not destroy but to extinguish some of these elements that exist and create more of a bridge that way there's an established institute your name is more established in the black American community you know what I mean the bridge is connected better. That's my main. I'm kind of all over the place, but my main point is this: do you feel that there should be more of a handprint or impact from elites in Africa in investing in America to further bridge the gap, whether it's through real estate, whether through factory, whether through these different elements that already exist here, to increase connectivity of because I do believe there's a lot of elements in African American culture that is still very much African, whether it's the music, whether it's the strings, whether it's the doo wop, whether it's certain foods, whether it's certain mannerisms, or even superstitions about not touching people here or whatever. Those are connections that still exist in their culture. I'm Haitian American, and I can see the elements that connect to us as Haitians, let alone Africans. So, do you feel that there's a more greater need to bridge that gap?
Everything is navigated through institutions irrespective whether it's on a social agenda or an economic agenda. And institutions are usually backed by policies. And as of right now, like I said, you don't see the Black caucus pushing the American government to open up opportunities on the Atlantic Ocean between Africa and America, and maybe creating a line of credit for African Americans who want to invest in Africa as a form of reparations. You know, there got to be something that is supported by a policy, ingrained, enshrined within the dot lines where folks would know that if I'm taking this risk, it's worth it because we have strong support. It's been done before. When they wanted to create Liberia, they went out there and they did it. You know what I mean? So it's like I said, it's all about the fear of black wealth. Because if if you do your history well, or if you learn your history well, or if you do your research, you know that black wealth has always been the threat to capitalism, because when capitalism eradicates when black folks are wealthy. And that has proven over time and time and time and time again.
Let
Um,
me
and
go ahead,
capitalism
go ahead, go
did
ahead,
not
go ahead, Nat.
start.
Go ahead, Nat. I'm sorry. Go
No,
ahead.
no, no. I was saying that capitalism did not start 400 years ago. It's a Roman system which has faced many, many hurdles. And the bottom line is that every time that you had equity within the black community, capitalism never functioned. And then obviously capitalism is all about superiority or white superiority dominance. So as long as they don't get over that, I don't think you're gonna see strong African and African American kinship economically. You're gonna get the social stuff, you know what I'm saying, man. Folks who are curious about Africa will take trips to Africa. Folks who want to do small things like may buy land and build, a few real estates here and there, they'll do that. But honestly, the real money is within the policy development systems. There is no business without politics, and there's no politics without business. And you need legislators to be able to create opportunities through the right policy for the masses to benefit. Until then, I'm sorry, I don't see it.
Let me pass the mic to Cuddy. Cuddy's in Burkina Faso. Go ahead, Cuddy.
What it do, Donis? Big salute to you, bro. Big
Peace.
salute, chat. Big salute, panel. Yeah, I'm just tuning in, tapping into you guys. I wanted to tap in when y'all was talking about Liberia the other day, but man, I passed out. But at time difference. But shit, I'm creeping a little bit late tonight. But yeah, the touch on the topic. Nah, the governments don't take African Americans serious. I'm gonna go ahead and be 100 with you, bro. The revolution is not taking African Americans, Black Americans, FBA, nothing, diaspora wars. They not taking none of that serious, bro. Being in Burkina Faso, connected with Mali and Niger, because it's not everybody keeps saying Burkina Faso, but people fail to understand that these folks have created a federation. First time in history ever anybody have ever seen this in their life. Three countries come together and defy all odds. I watched the whole thing from start to where it's at right now. Been here since before the Eric Collins situation and all that. Went through my trials and tribulations. So what we need to be talking about is how we can connect economically. Because I heard somebody in the panel say something about being economic. That's what we need to take advantage of right now. You see where the economy is going in America and in the West. So y'all need to make y'all connections in the global South, because it's the new market. Africa is going to replace America as consumers and producers. Only thing we got to do is be a part of the industrial part of the situation. We got to get the machines here. This is the sustenance that everybody in the diaspora, if you want to be a part of what's going on in the new Africa, because I'm here to tell you it's a new Africa going on right now with the Gen Z revolution, and it's spreading. just keep your eye on the news. I want to see. I can't wait to see what revolutionary is gonna come out of Madagascar though, because now the pool is open for all the fish to flow. Ain't nobody bigger than the revolutionary program. I'm here to let everybody know this. So we need to figure out what we're gonna fit in economically, y'all. Like Diners, I really need you to plan some business tours or some type of tours. I just jumped in the tourism game. I'm planning a tour to China. Straight business. We gotta go get some machinery, bro. So we could build our own cars, our own cell phones. You already got me to making the jewelry. I just got to get my Johnny Dang equipment. You feel me? So we got to go to China and outside of these other countries and make connections, regardless of what white supremacy got going on. We can't rely on them no more. The door for all y'all is open. The market to the world market is open. And a good way we can get there the fastest is making your connections right here. The new Africa's here already, the AES. This new, and it ain't going nowhere. And ain't nobody bucking. Can't nobody do nothing. They done tried, got their nose white. Time after time after time. This is what you call divine intervention, what's going on over here. Regardless of if you're spiritual or not. But I'm witnessing something I never seen in history before. It's all the knowledge that we got coming from America. I'm witnessing something I ain't never seen before. And it's spreading. But to the Liberia, I
don't want to kind of. I got to pass the mic to Jagoon too, and I kind of don't want to get off topic. But go ahead. You got another minute there. I got to pass it to Jagoon.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and land this plane. But yeah, the government said they don't take us serious because we ain't doing nothing in America but crying. We ain't ready to fight. We ain't ready to go shed no blood with the with white supremacy here. Yeah, white supremacy ain't no more of that. Ain't no more of that at all. Yeah. I ain't never seen nothing like it. I done been, from Kenya to Ghana to Liberia and all that. So yeah, the new Africa is official, y'all. So we got to figure out what we're gonna do economically. That's where everybody's mind need to be at. And I'm gonna land my plane with that. Appreciate that, Donnie.
No problem. Go ahead, Jagoon.
Thank you. And sorry, good evening, good night, everybody. I'm excited by the small words I've heard in this conversation. One by Kati and the other gentleman who spoke earlier before Kati, speaking about politics and business, have a deep connection and relationship. I believe that strongly also. I have a few fears, and I need a lot of positivity right now. My fears are particular in Nigeria, in terms of what's been said about a genocide, and how I know America and the West have their eyes really on West Africa. West Africa has one of the greatest opportunities in the world to arise very quickly. The only thing is, I don't see them really, and when I say them, I mean both the people and the politics. I don't see them following the example of the AES. The AES has set an example for the whole entire Black world. But we as Africans globally seem somewhat to distrust what the AES is attempting to do. And the following behind them, which would empower us all, doesn't really seem to be taking place in my eyes. And I'm here ready to speak on the consciousness of us as a people and whether or not we are seeing the way forward, most especially the fact that most of us are in the West and we're seeing the crumbling of the West. We're seeing the fact that politics doesn't hold up in the West. We're seeing the lies of the West being overturned on a daily basis. And I feel that we in Africa, who have such a great opportunity and who have the greatest need, I don't see us galvanizing our power and moving forward. I mean, I don't have much to say at this moment because I've got different things in my mind and I want to stick to the topics that you have, Dynast. So I'll stop there. That's whilst I have a lot of hope, I still have a lot of worry about our behavior as Black people globally and Black people especially in Africa. I'll land there.
Okay, let me pick from there, brother. The topic is the African government indirectly talk about the African citizens take Black America seriously. That is the topic.
Okay.
Um, you see, we Africans have our own problem to solve. And that problem have never actually been solved yet. And we're not seeing Black American, or let me call it that, because they are not on top of the table. You know, when you want to discuss business, you have to be country to country, right? No matter how weak your country is or how weak you are. As long as you're a Soviet society or you're a country, you still discuss to the other country. And that by through foreign affairs or direct by people to person to person, like the president to president. So I think we have to say things like this. The Black Americans have their own problem in their own country. And no matter how I want to put it, they're American first. And they think like that first. And based on being a long time, the Africans never take account into Black Americans for anything because they are not on their own government. They don't have anything to solve with them. They don't have no economical to deal with them. They don't share nothing with them. Apart from social gathering or some, kind of like visiting, curiosity, I want to know how you're doing, I want to know how you do. I think the base that we might say we come close together, let me say the government even. Now I give the government because it's talking about the government, directly the citizen, is that we might want to know each other as, okay, you have a darker skin, closer to me, and how you doing? Have you eaten today? Was your mind kind of like symposium, right? A true day we can do, but don't force it, because majority of Black Americans don't feel what you want to give to them because they're Africans, or you want to force Africans towards them. They used to have a black class. Even Martin Luther King never felt African. Malcolm X never fought African. Maybe they might be looking for kind of like assistance or backup for what called for the African continent, the black ones. But that doesn't mean that they felt that there are Africans in them. It's just like the way Ghana have independence, Kuruma said to then Nadia Zikiwe and the Wolowo and the Nauru that I don't think we save if you don't have independence. You know why? Because they're kind of like indirectly kind of like, even when we're different in different, not in cultural, but in tradition. We're the same culturally, but traditions, we have differences. But still, we can still connect with ourselves because we've been evolving ourselves for a very, very long time. My setting up is your setting up. What I eat is what you eat. So this cultural similarity or the same push this forward. You understand me? But with the Black Americans, one, they're not government. Two, they're under an umbrella. Three, we're different in the culture. So this play out. You cannot deal with somebody who is solving his own problem in somewhere, Alabama, Atlanta, all this area. He have his own big, huge problem to solve. Inviting them to come and build or invest, they're not there yet. They're not like the Chinese that we're dealing with every time. They're not like the Japanese. So you can actually have anything to do with them apart from social gathering. Nothing really. It's not about I hate you, you hate me, or let's be funny. No. This is just about the reality. Or to be able to get reality together, that you have to understand that the distance between us and them is different. They are no longer what you thought they are in their mindset and the way they reason. Don't force anything to people that don't want to belong to you and force them to belong to you. That's just all. Let me, I'd like to hear from the brother. I'm just a good listener, bro.
All right. Now, go ahead, Ahmed, and then we'll close out. Go ahead, Ahmed.
Are you ready to close out? Okay.
Well, Jago, if you want to say something, go ahead. You got a couple minutes, and I'm past Ahmed, so you can close out.
Okay. Thank you for that. Ahmed, I don't know if you want to speak before me, or in fact, let me speak so you can close out. I disagree with what our brother Ola just said. Well, I disagree. I disagree in terms of slightly, which is to say that, look, the work that African Americans have to do, the work that Africans on the continent that has to do, the work that the diaspora has to do, have different agendas. This must be accepted. The thing is, in looking at the whole world, we have to know that we need numbers, and we've got numbers. And at some stage, we've got to be mature enough to understand that we are our own allies. We are our first allies. And if we don't come to that point of common sensual workmanship that gives us a value for our future, then I'm afraid we are lost. So whilst I agree with you that we have work on our own to do, I disagree with you that we where it's a fact that somehow, somewhere, we must come together. This period that we're in is within the next couple of years. We're not going to recognize the earth that we're living in. The world is becoming poisoned on a daily basis. Here in the UK, they are bringing in digital ID, and they're bringing it in soon. And they're not even, as I see it now, they're not even putting the details through Parliament. But I'm happy to say that there are enough people in the UK who are against this digital ID. So the government's going to have a hard time. But the rest of the world is also there. So, as you said, we have to fight our own battles within the nations that we are existing in, but we still got a bigger agenda to fulfill. And that agenda is what we are doing back home in Africa. So I'll end there. Thank you, Dennis.
Welcome. Go ahead, Nana, closes out. You got to unmute yourself.
Oh, okay. I want to thank everybody for being there. It's been a pleasure, man. It's been a while since I've been on this stuff. But I do want to close with, obviously, man, coming back to the topic. Do African governments take African Americans seriously? The simple answer is no. As I started in my conversation, I had used Ghana as a case study because Ghana, me and my brother Dinus, we go back and forth all the time about who is more critical to Africa, Ghana or Nigeria. Ghana is extremely critical to Africa and the world, and it plays a significant role in sustaining the current relationship between the African diaspora and the developing relationship with Africa. So it's always good to use Ghana as a point of reference in regards to what other Africans are potentially looking at with their relationship with the African diaspora. With that being said, it's very important to also reflect back on what I said earlier, that this is a continent that has gone through over 600 years of trauma, okay, psychologically, spiritually, physically, emotionally, all aspects of trauma it has gone through. And it hasn't deliberately or intentionally designed mechanisms through institutions to heal itself. Nkrumah tried it. Other African countries have tried it. AES is doing it right now. But AES has to be able to establish a model for a certain period of time for the world to see that their system can stand the test of time. But I believe with unity among them, they will be able to do so. But we still need to give them time to be able to justify how their model can eradicate poverty in their respective countries. That's very, very important. But in the meantime, the existing mechanisms like Ghana with the Elmina Castle, which was built in 1482, which attracts almost 1 million diaspora people to that nation every year. This process needs to be enhanced. And for me personally, there's a man in Ghana who shall be running for president, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia. With all the presidents or the presidential potentials who have the ability to innovate or to think outside of the box to enhance the relationship economically and socially between Ghana and the diaspora, and for that to possibly become a model for other African countries to follow, is this man, Dr. Baumia. Remember that name very, very well, because when Ghana is strong, Nigeria have no choice but to emulate that process. When Nigeria is strong, Ghana has no choice but to emulate that. Because right now, what is happening is as long as USA and China are going back and forth, and Russia are going back and forth, a lot of this back and forth is over the motherland cake. China would never give manufacturing to Africa. I'm gonna say it again. China will never give manufacturing to Africa. If you go to Ghana right now, they are dumping and dumping and dumping and dumping all kinds of stuff on the people of Ghana, imploding the potential for Ghana to ever become a manufacturing house. If Ghana doesn't become a manufacturing house, how can Ghana establish brands that can be competitive within the African continental free trade? If we just allow the whole continent to be a dumping ground, how can we give opportunities to innovators who can create their own products and put their name on it and be able to have this stuff mass produced on the African continent and give jobs to young Africans? How can we have this become a reality if African countries are signing free trade agreement with the largest manufacturing country in the world, but you have nothing to export over there? It's ludicrous.
Can,
You see?
can I
So
interject? Because I can't agree with you on that, bro. Y'all may not be getting machinery in Ghana, but all we got to do is go to China and order it, and we can get it in Burkina Faso.
yeah, I'm not
Salute to
talking
Ghana, though.
about
Y'all right next
I'm
door.
I'm not talking about machinery. I'm saying they are dumping their consuming goods on the Africans. Machinery can be used for manufacturing. China has all the technology for manufacturing. If they want to help Burkina Faso,
Yeah, we got to
they
go
should
get
help.
it.
Yeah, well, no, it comes through policy, my brother. It's
No,
not
it's all
something
about
that
going to get
you,
it. You set your own
man,
policy.
listen, let me tell you. It's about policy. There's a certain technology you can't get from China. They won't give it to you because it gives you competitive edge. Okay, it's business. Okay, so when you
All
look
you
at
need is
South
good
Korea,
machinery.
man,
You
listen.
compete.
When you, my brother, hold on for a second. When you look at South Korea, it's not accident that they are globally competitive. We built them. When you look at China, it's not accident that they are where they are. In the 80s and the early, I would say in the late 70s and the early 80s, we had a whole policy drafted in Congress to give them over $400 million to kick off their manufacturing with our technology. Adjusted
Yep.
by inflation, that's over
A
$1 billion
self-inflected
today.
wound.
Okay. So I'm saying to you that these things are done intentionally to help economies grow and be competitive. So either
Bruh,
Africa is going to choose a route of AES, or we're going to have countries like America with the help of African Americans who are going to see that America's future is based on having a strong relationship with Africa,
it's over for
economically
that.
and socially. Okay, you can't say it's over when we got 70 million black people here. It's impossible for our brothers in America to get equity if they don't take the bull by the horn and help this country be able to have leverage in Africa, because they're losing all their leverage in Africa right now.
I
You
mean,
see,
pretty soon you ain't
so
gonna have no
uh, uh,
choice.
uh, uh, um, um, and that's what I'm saying. We don't take African Americans seriously, or African government don't take. It doesn't mean it's not going to change. I'm doing my part to make sure at the right time, when we have the right leadership in Ghana, 2028. I'm praying to God, because I I I, I had hope in this president in Ghana, but he's been there almost a year and he's not been able to implement any of the flagship programs that he said he was going to do. So he has another year left and they get ready for campaign and all that stuff. But I know Dr. Baumia because I have had the chance to sit down with him and we have discussed how do we integrate the African diaspora into the African continental free trade. It is ludicrous that you have 3 billion black people around the world and you don't have a platform to be able to buy and sell goods from each other. That's
You
ludicrous.
gotta create it. That's the beautiful thing about Africa. You gotta create that.
And and then you have all these engineers around who claim to work for all these so-called fancy corporations, not being able to see that it's about numbers. And if you have 3 billion people who have comparative advantage with you, they have similar cultures, they have similar food, they have similar music, they have the ability to share similar history. That is a market base. And I challenge my black engineers, my black so-called software engineers, if we are living in a digital age, the former vice president of Ghana, he started what they call the Pan-African payment system to support the African continental free trade. I challenge other black engineers to find the resources to raise the venture capital money and build a system so somebody in Ghana can sell their product that they innovated or whatever they're selling from. It could be shea butter, it could be Macari's, it could be Gary, it could be fufu from Ghana to Trinidad. You know, man, why not? Why not? That's money in your pocket. There's so much money on the table that through ignorance and through stupid arguments, man, I'm from this, I'm that. Why does all that matter when healing comes through the ability to get to know each other? As long as we are willing to get to know each other, we shall heal. But when we pretend like we're not able to get to know each other, as if most of my friends I grew up with are not African Americans, and we had to survive man, we had to survive with each other. We ate together, we slept on the same rooms together. We have no problems. We have artificial boundaries. And I believe it's going to take governments like the incoming government in Ghana 2028, God willing, when he wins, Dr. Alhaj Mahmoud Bamouya, when he wins, he's going to have the attention of the African American community, because we need to expand the ability to trade. There's too much money on the table. These white folks have tried to figure things out and it hasn't worked. They're too busy, okay, fighting each other. Okay, France wants to keep the war going in Russia because they're losing over $2 trillion a year in West Africa. You see, this is all connected to the mother cake. And we
Yep.
out here, man, bantering over stupid things. You see? So, adjuvantconsultingservices.com. If you want to reach me, if you want to support my nonprofit, is ADIA, African Descent Youth Affairs, ADYA, Effect, EFFECT.org. And my wife and my auntie also owns Miss Natural Beauty Africa. They are hosting the second edition of Miss Natural Beauty Ghana in August 2026. Please go to missnaturalbeautyafrica.com for all the information is on there. You can also follow our media company, Kente Business Journal, KENTE, Kente Business Journal on YouTube. Yeah, uh, uh, I'm doing my part at the micro level. Eventually, it will grow from micro to macro, and we will all benefit because, man, time is only worth it when you make use of it. It's
Yes,
a
sir.
blessing.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Everyone, thank you so much for joining. Like, share, subscribe. Until next time, family, Dynasty Merch Church for Peace.